Hi guys, my name is Devin Russell, and today I'm going to talk to you about databases. However, before we get into databases, it is important to discuss what data is. Data is a set of variables that can be measured, collected, reported, and analyzed. Now that we have briefly discussed data, let's talk about databases. So what exactly is a database? A database is simply an organized collection of data. What makes up a database, though? You can comprise your data, manipulate your data, and add and take away the information you may need. More specifically than covering the very broad topic of databases, we are going to talk about two main important types of databases. These are SQL and NoSQL. Now we are going to dive into the worlds of SQL and NoSQL. More specifically, we are going to discuss the differences between the two, as well as the pros and cons of each. First, we are going to talk about SQL. This stands for Structured Query Language. SQL is a special purpose program that is designed to manage data in RDBMS. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management Systems. Now I would like to discuss a bit of history regarding SQL. This concept was first created at IBM in the 1970s. It was designed originally to create and manipulate data. Originally, IBM wanted to call this Sql. That name was already trademarked, so the company decided to change the name of this database to SQL. Let's discuss SQL throughout the years a bit. It was first formalized in 1986. Following this, a minor revision was made in 1989. Following the minor revision was a major revision in the year 1992, and from 1999 to 2008, things were added and taken away from SQL to improve it as a whole. So now you may ask, why is SQL used so often? Well, big businesses that typically use big data use the SQL database. The other plus to SQL is that if you become certified in SQL, then you'll probably be able to use a variety of database types. The other important aspect of SQL to big businesses is that they utilize the easiness to access the information that they may need. Next, we are going to talk about the language elements of SQL. These elements include clauses, expressions, queries, predicates, and statements. The word query has been thrown around a lot in this presentation so far, so I find it important to talk about what exactly a query is. A query describes desired data. More specifically, it is a list of columns that include final results. This is performed with the select statement within SQL. Obviously, SQL isn't the only database type that can be used. Below, I have 4 alternatives to SQL. These alternatives include 4D query language, BQL, data log, and HDSQL. All of these listed have some aspects of SQL within them, but all are viable alternatives that can be used. Now that we have briefly talked about SQL, I would like to talk about NoSQL. NoSQL actually stands for non-SQL or non-relational. So more specifically, NoSQL is a mechanism that provides the storage and retrieval of data. Like I said in the last slide, this NoSQL idea means not only SQL. In fact, non-SQL can do far more than SQL. We are now going to dive into the history of NoSQL. The term was first used in 1998. When the term was first originally used, it actually had nothing to do with SQL. As of today, in particularly July of 2015, NoSQL was one of the most used databases within big businesses. There are 5 main types or examples that have to deal with NoSQL. These types/examples are column, document, key value, graph, and multi-model. Here are some key characteristics that make NoSQL what it is. NoSQL has easy replication support. It is schema-free. NoSQL also is consistent and simple, which makes it very easy for big businesses to use. Now let's discuss the difference between SQL and NoSQL. NoSQL is actually used more often than SQL. NoSQL fulfills the needs of big businesses more so than SQL. The actual big difference between the two, however, is that SQL deals with relational databases, while NoSQL deals with non-relational databases. The diagram presented on the slide talks about the pros and cons of both sides, SQL and NoSQL. The pros for SQL include relational databases are good at structured data and transactional high-performance workloads, as well as offerings are proven and mature with a wide variety of tools available. The cons to SQL are that it can be difficult to scale and fixed schema for organizing data. The pros to NoSQL are good for non-relational data, schema-less architecture allows for frequent changes to the database and easy addition of varied data to the system, as well as easily scalable, runs well on distributed systems. The cons of NoSQL are installation, management, and tool sets still maturing, and it can have slower response times. In summary, a database stores info and data in an organized fashion. SQL and NoSQL are both equally important in the database and business world. So the question is then in your hands. Which system would you prefer